And so, welcome, dear sisters and brothers, to the bright side here on Catholic SG Radio. I'm Andre Acha. Together with me is Beatrice de Cruz. Now, on this particular program, we invite our sisters and brothers to come in and to share with us their faith and hope stories that glorify God in their lives and in the work that they have been called to do.
Yes. Now, sometime recently, perhaps you were the lucky one to have been, enchanted by a particular pop star at the National Stadium. Now,
some people.
Yeah, many concert goers, were fearless in embracing the full 100 to 120 decibels of music, which is almost as loud. So I did a bit of research, almost as loud as a plane takeoff.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was for over 3 hours. So one thing we don't usually take notice of is how constant exposure to loud sounds and how our listening habits can lead to noise-induced hearing loss. So in a recent Faith Perspective episode, we had a parent who shared her experiences of how, she's been journeying with her and bringing up her child who has hearing loss present from birth. And, in this way, how can we be more sensitive to our surroundings and also in supporting the needs of those experiencing hearing loss, especially with children?
Ah, right. So to answer that question, actually, today, here in Catholic SG Radio, we have two professionals from Canossaville. Let me first introduce Jolene Pang.
Hello.
Jolene is an educational therapist who's been with Canossian Child Development Unit, right? And your journey in the field includes specialized experience in supporting students with dyslexia and severe reading difficulties. And then we have Yin Leng. She's an audiologist at the Canossian School. And as an audiologist, Yin Leng performs essential audio assessments for students, helping to identify any hearing-related issues that they may encounter. And both Jolene and Yin Leng conduct training sessions in the Canossian Village to equip teachers and staff, and even parents, I was going to ask that, okay, was there, in their support for children with hearing loss in the classroom. So thank you so much for coming down. You had to see to your kids and make sure that they were all okay for school, right? Okay.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Now, I'm going to start with you, Yin Leng.
Yes.
As an audiologist, could you please help us to define what hearing loss really is?
Okay, hearing loss basically means that the person cannot hear as well as a normal hearing person, which can hear sounds which are very soft, like 20 decibel, which is something like a leaf rustling, water dripping kind of sound.
Right.
So as long as you are not able to hear within that normal range, you are considered to have some degree of hearing loss. And so...
Are there misconceptions about hearing
there
loss?
There are many misconceptions. I'll just highlight one main one.
Right.
The main one is that after fitting hearing devices, after you are diagnosed to have hearing loss, you fit hearing devices at the hospitals, at the clinics, you're good to go. Now, this is a really gross misconception, especially for children, because fitting the hearing devices only help them to access to sounds, and you need to teach them to associate meaning to the sound and remember the meaning. Then the children will be able to develop speech and language.
Okay.
Yeah. So they don't develop speech and language automatically after you feed them with devices. So parents need to, especially parents, they need to constantly expose their children to as much sounds as possible, speech sounds, environment sounds, and actively associate meaning for the children. So the children can remember, dog bark is like this, alarm bell rings like this.
We take it for granted, right?
Yes.
For us. What are some of the common causes actually of hearing loss in children?
For children, there are actually a lot of unknown causes. We call it unknown etiology. So they might come from a family of normal hearing parents, but they suddenly develop hearing loss at birth. There are also some known causes like middle ear infection or side effects of certain diseases like meningitis, and also taking certain drugs like quinine is one of the most common drugs.
Quinine
to treat malaria.
Malaria, yeah.
Yes, one of the side effects is that you will experience some sort of hearing loss after that.
Oh my.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. We were talking about hearing loss. That means this child is born, and then it's only discovered later that they have a degree of loss of hearing. But what about those who are totally deaf?
You mean right from birth?
Yeah.
Okay, in Singapore, we are quite fortunate because we have this thing called newborn hearing screening. So at birth, most of the babies, I say most because there are some private hospitals, they still have an opt-in option. That
Right.
means the parent can opt not to do this test on their child at birth. But most of the government hospitals, they
Right.
already package it. So when a child is born, the first few days of birth, they will
Yeah.
be caught by the neonatal ward nurse and
Right.
do the test. So if the child has severe to profound loss, they won't be able to pass this screening test. And then they will be rescheduled to do a diagnostic test later.
Right. And so the treatment and all will be
Yes,
completely and
correct.
totally different.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. Jolene, let's bring you into the conversation. As an educational therapist, how about yourself? How do you communicate with children who are experiencing hearing loss? And is it any different when communicating with adults with hearing loss?
Okay, so for the children in our village, we use the auditory oral approach. So I do speak to them just as I would with children without hearing loss. But definitely because in a noisy listening environment, they need some support. So that's where we bring in equipment like the FM system, which helps to make our speech more clear for them.
What is the FM system?
Yeah, how does it work?
Okay,
Maybe in Leng can share. Yeah.
Actually, now is a newer technology that we call the Rogers system. So it is a 2.4 gigahertz wireless system. So the speaker or the teacher will wear a mic, and the children with hearing loss will have receivers fitted to their devices.
Okay, I think I've seen that.
Yes.
They would like wear it around their necks, right?
Correct.
And, okay.
So this helps to bring down the ambient noise because it brings up the speech, the signal to noise ratio. So it's like you talking to the child very near or very loudly, but actually you don't have to raise your voice.
Right. It sort of amplifies,
It sort of reduce the ambient sound,
reduces the ambient
noise.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so that's one of the challenges that Jolene, you mentioned, a noisy environment. What are some other common challenges that children with hearing loss face, especially in the educational setting? And how do you address this during therapy sessions?
Okay, so for our kids, some of them do not really pick up, vocabulary and language through incidental learning, so through the environment, through our adult conversations.
Yeah.
They need to be taught quite explicitly. So through my therapy sessions, I do teach them, introduce vocabulary with them, build that comprehension with them, because this has implications on their reading, their writing, even their reading comprehension. Yeah. Some of our students may also have articulation difficulties, so that's like the pronunciation of words, because they don't really hear these sounds very clearly in speech.
That's right.
So that also translates to how they pronounce the words. So that's where we come in. We bring in the speech therapist in our team. We work closely with them, even as we work on like reading with them. We will see how we can incorporate some of the strategies from the speech therapist to help them work on their pronunciation.
Right,
Yes.
right. Many years ago, I met a young gentleman, and I was having a wonderful, I thought, discussion with him, and he was so crisp in his pronunciation, and he was also very, deliberate in the way he pronounced his words. And then, it just happened that he turned, and I saw this hearing aid that he had, and then I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, actually, I was born with a certain level of hearing loss, and I had gone through, and so it struck me actually that a child that is, given the right, education, the right guidance, can actually live life very normally.
Yes.
Right, and I was really taken in by, like I said, it's so nice to hear someone speaking well, and so naturally. as well. He was deliberate, but he was very natural. And so I asked him again, I said, so where do you learn all of this? Oh, I went to Canossaville.
Wow.
This was some years ago, you know. And so, you know, there's this old saying, right? It takes a village to, you know, bring up a child. And so the jobs that the both of you have in you know, journeying, I would say, with these children, just share with us a little bit of you know, the other interventions that you have at the village, at the Canossaville village. Yeah.
So maybe I just focus more on the communication part. So me and my fellow audiologist colleague, we design a package of lessons called compensatory lessons, where we teach the children about hearing loss, about devices, how to care for their devices. And also part of it is about communication strategies and how to create a conducive listening environment for themselves, and later on how to advocate for themselves. Yeah.
So they learn to become advocates for themselves.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Because eventually they will leave us
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
move on to the secondary schools and all that. And at the same time, we also reach out to other colleagues and staff who are in the village, and we conduct training sessions for them so that they understand the challenges that these students face.
Oh, wonderful.
As part of the village, we do have a preschool as well as an early intervention class. So what happens is that, you know, we get to pick out these kids very early, and that's critical, right? Like
Right.
you mentioned, early intervention.
Yes.
So because we are given, you know, we are able to access these kids, and these kids rather are able to access us, we are able to provide the intervention early.
Right.
So like for myself as an educational therapist, even though I work with them on reading and writing, you know, we are in tune to the fact that, you know, a child is more than just the academic, right? So
course.
if we realize that there's an emotional need, there's a social need, or even, you know, we can provide further support in terms of their hearing, we will refer them to the professionals in our team. We are made up of like speech therapists, occupational therapists, we have counselors, social workers even to work on the families, right? So it's
Yeah.
really that whole circle of care that we try to provide for the kids
That's right.
who come to our into our care. Yeah.
Wonderful. You know, I always wondered, you know, if the children were from, let's say, you know, if I'm a parent and my child is not in any of the Canossian associated schools, right? How can I get my child into, you know, maybe into the programs that you all have? Or is that possible at all?
So, sorry, could I clarify? So you are asking?
Yeah, let's say, okay, if my child is not, you know, in any of the Canossian schools, right? And but has a hearing loss problem and wants to take part or be part of these programs or to access these programs that you all have, is that possible?
That's possible, especially for the EPIC program. They do serve standalone kids, meaning kids who may not attend the preschool in our school, but they
Right.
come to our center for early intervention. So that's
okay.
how we also provide that support to them.
Okay. So that's very, very good to know. Wonderful.
But at the end of the day, I think we serve the village first.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
because we aim to serve like the poorest and those who are here in the village. They get that direct support. I think that's the value, or that's the beauty of us all being housed together.
It
Preschool,
is.
intervention center, and you know, the primary schools, the Canossian schools, the special school.
Yeah.
On-site support that
Yes.
that they have access to. lah.
I think that's immense.
Yes.
And that makes the whole difference,
Because
isn't
there's
it?
easy access, you know. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Nice. So, if you've just joined us on the bright side, we're speaking with Jolene Pang. She's a Catholic educational therapist who has been with Canossian Child Development Unit, and her journey in the field includes specialized experience in supporting students with dyslexia and severe reading difficulties. While Ying is an audiologist at Canossian School, and as an audiologist, she performs essential audio assessments for students, helping to identify any hearing-related issues they may encounter. So, Jolene, you know, you're an educational therapist,
Yes.
and we have to ask you, how has your faith played a part in this? How has your faith been a foundation in your profession, as you support children with hearing loss in their educational journey? Because it's not an easy one when you see them struggle or so, and you want to help them as much as you can. So how has your faith been part of this journey?
I see my role as an educational therapist. It's also a calling from God. To share through educational therapy that I provide a way to share God's love for them. So, which is why, even though my focus is on the learning part, I do always keep in mind that the child is more than just the academic part, right? We have to care about the social, care about the emotional well-being, and also the family, which is, where the child is really in the center. So that's where if I need to refer them to other specialists, or if I can do something during my educational therapy just to check in with them, ensure that they're well, that's what we will do, work together to support these kids.
Right.
And I also see educational therapy as a way for me to give hope to these kids, because many of these kids, when they come to me for educational therapy, they would have experienced some sort of setbacks, in their learning, and I hope to be able to give them that confidence to taste success along the way, and also be able to keep up with their peers.
Right.
So that's what I hope to do.
Ying, I just want to ask you, just as Jolene said, she gets in touch with parents. So specifically, I'd like to ask you, how do you, work with parents as an audiologist?
Actually, we work very closely with our parents, because we will still do audio assessments annually for the students in the preschool as well as in the SPED school, Canossian school, because we want to monitor their hearing level and update the parents. So if we do notice any red flags or any concerns in their hearing thresholds, because sometimes hearing thresholds might deteriorate, hopefully not, but they won't get better. They can only deteriorate or maintain as it is. So we will update the parents and say, we notice that this is happening. What is the follow-up actions that they may want to take, or they can take. And we also update the teachers, because teachers will need to customize their teaching strategies with the children.
Is it possible that you may have to engage a parent for the parent to be part of the intervention for the child?
Yes, because sometimes the children have compliance issues, meaning that they don't like to wear their devices. So if we notice that, because we are with them like Monday to Friday, so we do notice a lot of habits of the children. So we will update the parents and say, look, this is something that you should monitor to ensure that they wear their devices in the first place. Then they will be able to have access to sound. They will be able to have access to information, knowledge, and speech and language will then develop.
That's great.
Now, hearing loss is not as uncommon as we think. Like earlier on, as I was sharing also, like we go for concerts, we get, constantly exposed to loud sounds like construction work nearby. How can we, find out more information, or how do you even equip and educate families, especially those in the community, about hearing loss?
Are there public programs?
Okay, so in fact, March is the month that we dedicate to World Hearing Day.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so with this, the Canossian Village is holding an event this Saturday, the 23rd of March. Yes, where we will raise awareness about ear and hearing care.
Oh, okay.
So in this event, you will be able to hear discussions on how best to support children with hearing loss. Okay, and you'll also be able to hear from parents and caregivers themselves who are in the journey. So this event is open to public. It's free.
Anyone can attend.
Yes,
and free.
Yes,
That's
free. Yes. So you can just walk in and register.
It's a
at
walk-in
8:15 on Saturday.
Right.
For more details, they can visit the Canossian Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
And we hope to see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, the two of you do such wonderful work. Maybe can you just share your personal experiences of your own roles that you see yourselves in, or if you can share some stories of, that you remember?
Yeah, like what you find most rewarding in your roles also. Yeah, because both of you have been, you've been an educational therapist and you've been an audiologist like probably more than 3 years plus. I can't remember exactly. So one of you is 4 years, the other one is 6 years, right? Yeah. So please share with us like what you find most rewarding about your role also.
Maybe I start first. I find satisfaction in seeing the child grow, right? From taking care of their devices, knowing how to advocate for themselves, and also, of course, experiencing success in their little areas in life.
What made you become an audiologist? Because it's a very specialized area.
It is.
Because I know of people with hearing loss, and I know their struggles.
Do you know, you mean you have family members or you know of?
Okay, so I used to be a teacher before I became an audiologist.
Right.
Yeah, so
okay.
I actually have one student who has mild hearing loss. So she didn't wear devices and she stayed in my class for 3 years. And after she graduated, she came back to visit me. And she enjoyed my lessons, but she said, but teachers sometimes are a bit soft. And then she started telling me all the struggles that she has. So I started thinking, and I wanted to integrate my teaching experience with my new acquired audiology skills.
Wonderful.
That's why, I actively searched for a place and come back to Canossaville.
Oh, you're such a blessing. You're such a blessing, my goodness.
Wow. Yeah, we have to hear from you also, Jolene. Like, you mentioned that this is a calling in a way for you. Yeah, how did this spark your journey as an educational therapist? And I'm sure also in your interactions with children, you must have learned things from them also as you impart your knowledge. Yeah, share with us.
Okay, so my journey as an educational therapist began when I was supporting a child in here with learning difficulties. So that started off my journey right before working with kids with hearing loss. So subsequently, I met a friend and I had a close friend who had hearing loss as well. So that's where I also was introduced to the community.
Right.
So it's like, I see different parts of my journey leading me towards where I am today, where I support children with dyslexia or reading difficulties, and also children with hearing loss.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how, I marry the two of them together.
Oh, that's beautiful marriage. I just want to ask, if you don't mind, I know you deal with children, right? But let's say, let's say the child comes from a family where there are older members of the family who may have also hearing issues. Is that common or uncommon?
Older members having hearing. It is very common.
It's very common.
Yeah. In Singapore statistics wise, I think in every 5 older adults above 60 years old, there will be 3 of them with some sort of hearing loss.
Right. So I think you know where I'm going with this, because I mean, by 2035, we're going to have about a lot more of those
population.
Above 60 or 65. So how would you all be able to integrate, your specialty, seeing to the young, but as well as seeing to members actually who, let's say myself, right? And my hearing loss, let's say, degenerates as I get older. Would Canossaville be able to also, manage the situations for older, for adults, for that matter?
Okay, currently Canossaville is supporting children within the
right,
village.
yeah. But
that's a good thought. Maybe something we can explore further.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's going to be a need that is going to come along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Or we will have to learn how to also communicate with the elderly who
actually,
lose their
when
hearing.
we do, we are trying to create awareness as and when we can.
Right.
So sometimes we have assembly programs. We are invited to give talks to children.
Oh, nice.
So we will always bring in the fact that, if you have elderly members who have hearing loss, how should you communicate with them? Be patient,
Nice.
know about their devices and all that.
Yeah.
So you do have a sort of a community or public program.
Sometimes we will be invited by fellow schools to reach out to the schools.
Yeah. And I guess the community event that's coming up really soon, also on the 23rd
Right.
of March, is one of those ways that, we raise awareness about hearing loss, and also, sort of get your whole family village, the whole kampong to come, right? And get to know what this is all about, and how we can also communicate with not just children with hearing loss, but adults also. We have an aging population. We need to be equipped.
Yeah,
right?
you have this whole lot of people who go for concerts all the time. Those who can afford the tickets. But anyway, I mean, it's really nice to know that as you said, it takes a village, right? And it will take families as well to be aware. So thank you so much for coming in and really sharing with us. It's an eye opener, and really not just an eye opener, but really a ear opener as well, because not many people know the interventions that you have at hand, and especially for children, dyslexia as well. Is that also handled? Do you handle that especially as well?
Yes, children
in
with
you do.
Yeah, children with reading difficulties, inclling those with dyslexia. Some may not be diagnosed, but they do have those difficulties, and we want to start early in providing that intervention for them.
Right. Oh, okay. So that's wonderful. My one of my boys has dyslexia. We've just discovered actually that my grandson has got dyslexia. So, or one of my grandsons is anyway, and so and. Parents are always very stressed, or grandparents for that matter. When they find out that there is some sort of handicap, so to speak, right, or difficulty for the child, we do get very afraid and overwhelmed, and then we forget that actually there's so many other interventions that are available.
There's a whole community waiting to welcome everyone.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you so much. Jolene Pang is a Catholic educational therapist, and she's been with she is with the Canossian Child Development Unit. You still are, right? That's it. Yeah.
Both of us are.
Both of you are. Yes. And Ying is an audiologist at the Canossian School. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And taking the time to come and speak to us as well.
Yes. Yeah. So just a reminder, the Bright Side broadcast is every alternate Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. with our encore at 8 p.m. tonight and at 5 p.m. the next day. Alternatively, if you'd like to catch the podcast version, because we have shared a lot of good things here from Jolene and Ying, you can share the podcast version. It's on our Catholic SG radio app as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
What time do you start again on Saturday?
8:15.
8:15. Yes. Right. Okay. So no excuses. Not that you can't hear anything. Right? Okay. So thank you so much, dear sisters and brothers. Thank you so much for being here on The Bright Side. I'm Andrea Chut. She's Beatrice de Cruz. Take care. God bless. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.